When Obamacare was launched, the Russian mafia stole $600 million out of Obamacare. How are you supposed to launch a program like that when you get $600 million fraudulently stolen from you?
My name is Andrew Sweeting, aka Made by Sweets, and I'm going to be interviewing Cole Smidt today. All right, so what is your name, and give us some background info of your life in the last year or so.
Originally born in the Mile High City of Denver, Colorado, 5,280 feet in the air. It's 5,280 feet in elevation. And at 19, I was a Navy SEAL candidate. I tried out for the Navy SEAL team, only to fail within the first 6 weeks of that training. But I did do a few years of enlisted military, receiving some certifications in that, learning how to firefight, leadership qualities, how to maintain a team, what it means to die for something you believe in. And after that time I enlisted, I was hired on by a contracting company, doing military work there for a few more years after I got out. I think it was actually less than 2 years. I worked that contracting gig, but in October of 22, I decided to take my life into a completely different direction at that time. And what I do now doesn't really have to do with anything that I was doing in the military at all. Actually, what I was doing was like working on planes and helicopters, but I don't do any of that anymore. But some of the training that I've gotten during that time, I've still adopted to use during my everyday life, and which are both, maybe good or bad. And I'll kind of leave it there. But within the last year, we've done a lot of marketing, specifically in real estate professional services. We came out with an offer. We launched that offer for a while. But within the last 6 months, I've really been looking at starting an investment fund that's looking to fund the purchase of real estate of more than 24 units, whether that's apartment style or development style. And there's a lot more to that. I'm going to keep it there until a later question. But that's my life within the past year and my background.
Cool. And outside of this new investing interest, what do you like to do outside of it?
R&B music. I listen to a lot of R&B music. Before we go into this next question, I love listening to R&B music. If I find myself in a rut, I will literally listen. I'll put on a playlist and I'll listen to it for hours.
Do you dance?
No. Yeah. I do find myself dancing. Sometimes you do what you gotta do to get to that. Moving on. I think within the past few years, I've changed a lot of direction, because coming out of military work, getting into video marketing, that was kind of a weird transition. And I think with the evolving of AI, it really jeopardized my work between both marketing and video production, because you can now do AI video production at a much lower cost, with a lot more convenience. And there's actually, there's some good stuff that can come out of that, right? It's looking pretty good. So. But for a while, I always looked long term. I didn't believe even that my marketing direction would last very long, because there's kind of a lot of active involvement in it. There's a lot of marketing companies. There's no reason to start a new marketing company. There's a lot of risk. It's startup in a community that I'm like vaguely familiar in, but I didn't grow up in this direct community. And so I don't have, like me and you are one of the few exceptions. I don't have a lot of really deep connections with people. And I think even me and you, we'll still have a few more years to build a great friendship. But some of those guys in Colorado, I already have 10 years of friendship, with those guys in Colorado. I love to travel. I've not done as much of it within the past 6 months to a year. But I've been to 13 different states. I've lived in 8 different counties from both, West Coast to East Coast. I literally lived on the ocean of the Atlantic and the ocean of the Pacific, and that really has shaped me. I think it's given me kind of an unfair advantage, to be in multiple places, to experience different cultures of people, their demands, why they think the way that they do, and to meet beautiful people. There's beautiful people in every state, in every city that we forget about. They're people kind of just like you. They're 99% the same, but they're all different in their own unique ways. And so that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
Outside of
Well, where else would you want to go, travel to?
I'm really inspired to. I'll talk about this a little bit later on as well. But 2 places. One, I'm really looking to go back to Denver for a few months. Denver's home for me. All my family's in Denver, and it's home for me. And so there's a lot of life that's happening there in terms of development, business. Here, specifically where we're at now, is a little geographically locked with the water. You don't really get that with Colorado, so you have a lot of land, a lot of really tall mountains. I was a big elk hunter. But looking past that, I think moving to Nashville is on my agenda. The reason why, I'll tell you about this a little bit later on, but I really liked the East Coast, some of it. I've been to North Carolina, really loved my time I spent in North Carolina. I knew that Tennessee in general had a very, it's one of the fastest growing cities in America. Well, specifically Nashville and the town north of Nashville. And we'll get that into a little bit later on why that's so important. But I really loved driving through Tennessee. They got their cute drawl, they got that southern drawl, all of them. And I think from what I've experienced so far, I haven't lived there yet, but a little more down-to-earth style people. And what that really looks like is there's kind of a city lifestyle which has a certain personality trait to them. I've met some great people in Nashville. I'm looking to build, bigger and better relationships with people in Nashville. And then, ultimately, I think in my long-term plan would to be in Dubai. In Dubai. I know that's crazy, but I'm really attracted to what Dubai has to offer. A lot of people are moving to Dubai. A lot of people who get rich move to Dubai. I think it's a sense of lifestyle. It's also a sense of the taxation. It's not nearly as crazy here, in Dubai as it is here. And the economic development of Dubai is much better than the States right now. There's not as much political turmoil as there is here in the States. It's really divided here in the States, both with gender, with political parties, with race. It's crazy right now. And so, let me, go live in some nice, but that would only be 6 months out of the year, right? So my desired life, which I'll talk about later, is to be in all locations only 6 to 8 months of the year, right? So I'd want to go to Dubai for 6 months, then come back to Nash for 6 months, and then be in Denver for 3 months. But we're gonna see, really where that takes us.
Gotcha. What are 5 books that you would recommend?
Oh, nice. I got them right here, actually. All right, so the first one's actually an audiobook. It's called "I'll Make You an Offer You Can't Refuse." It's by Michael Francis, former mob boss. Talks about the mob life and how he escaped the mob life through faith. And it's an incredible book. It's a shocking book, very hard to listen to, because it's very eye-opening. It's very exposed. I don't even know what the word is. It very much exposes some of the dark traits of government and people and in business. So I'd highly recommend "I'll Make You an Offer You Can't Refuse" by Michael Francis. I listened to it on audiobook. I don't have the hard copy. My next recommendation would be the Motivation Manifesto, the 9 Declarations to Claim Your Personal Power by Brendan Burchard. And this book is just very, very eye-opening in terms of shifting your mindset into understanding how to get what you want, not being scared of what other people have to say, how fear is a false expectation. Very powerful. Talks about today's a blank canvas. You can change your life today, not yesterday. So that's my second one. My third one, The Art of Patience, Seeking the Snow Leopard in Tibet. This book's about the endangered snow leopard and the journey of what it takes to go see one in nature. How it, patience of months. I think this was years in the making. How it took someone years to find the right location, to build the right relationships, to put their eye on a snow leopard and get a photograph of it. It's very, very powerful. And I think it takes away from I read a lot of books about self-help and entrepreneurship. I think this book kind of takes that away to give it a different scope of how things in the world are valuable other than wealth and fame. And so very powerful, The Art of Patience, Speaking the Snow Leopard. Alexa, stop timer. We'll get that on the podcast. I'm going to keep that in there. My next recommendation would be the Release Your Brakes by James Newman. This book was recommended by Dan Pena. This talks about understanding the philosophy of why people are scared to do things, and how to understand why you get stressed or feared in a certain situation, and then how, once you have a basic understanding of why it happens in your body, then you have the ability to overcome it, and it just kind of overcomes some false expectations of people looking to achieve their best, and that looks a couple of different ways based on other people's passions and stuff. And then, as you know me, Andrew, I'm a man of faith. The Bible's number one. This was just a couple years in the making. 3 years ago, I would not have recommended this book. My life has taken a complete transformation in building a relationship with Jesus and understanding what Jesus did for the world. I'll keep it at that. This podcast is not about religion, but I do want you guys to know that the Bible is my number one book recommendation. So there you go.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't think, especially that snow leopard one. That sounds cool.
You should read it.
Might have to give it a gander. Let's see. Next question we got on the list. What are 3 of the most memorable events that have occurred in the last 5 years for you?
Number 1 was Navy SEAL training. As you guys know, I went 6 weeks in. I tried out. I remember the day. It was 100 burpees. In between each 10 burpees, we swam the Olympic pool. I thought I was going to drown that day. And so I literally thought I was going to drown that day. After our 6th round, we're at 60 burpees. I've done 6 laps in the pool. And I left to go throw up. I came back and they were still waiting for me. The second memorable experience was I've been arrested. I was arrested in Jacksonville, Florida. I lived there on reckless driving charges. But I remember being arrested. I remember being in the back of the car. I remember saying, I wish I never spoke to the police. You can really incriminate yourself. Second thing is, I wish I hired an attorney. You never get a public defender. If you ever want to bet on someone losing a case, find someone who has a public defender. They'll probably lose their case, which is very sad. It's very sad to see because people and young kids will put themselves in a position with a public defender and it may ruin their life forever. So that was one thing. I remember also going in, being booked, spending 6 hours in what they call a holding cell. I could have made a phone call. I chose not to make a phone call. But they strip you down. They take all your stuff. And even, people who are innocent also go through this. And I remember walking in. The guard was behind me, right? They have this door. And I first stepped in. I remember, I'm a young cat, right? I'm like 20. I look 20. And I don't even remember exactly what it was called. But it was for first class offenses, right? As soon as you walk in. And this guy is like, yo, he's beating on the door. He's like, what's up, little boy? what are you doing, crying? Are you crying, little boy? I don't know. And I remember standing up for myself. I was really proud. I was still proud of it.
You're like, I am crying.
I was like, I remember I like got up. I was like, no, man, I ain't crying. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, I said something. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I stood up for myself in jail. And that was pretty cool. But they stuck me in a cell with a guy. You know, remember, legs and in wrist shackles, right? We got both. I got a dinner that night. But I remember my cellmate, he started hitting his head against the wall at one point. Because he's like, I'm never going to be able to see my daughter again. He's just hitting his head against the wall. The cop walks up to the door, standing on the doors are like this thick and metal, right? It's not like something that easily can get out of. Guys are beating each other up in the cell. And the cop comes up to the door, and he's like, are you okay? And the guy's like, no, I'm not okay. The cop goes, do you want medical attention? The guy said, no, I'm okay. And the cop left. So it was a very scary experience. But that was my second one. And then my third one was moving across the country. Moving across the country was very ideal because I think being from Denver, you know, when you grow up your first 18 years in one place, that's all you see the world as. And leaving there to go to Chicago, then from there I went to Pensacola, Florida. Then from there I went to Jacksonville, Florida. And Jacksonville's its own place. It has beautiful natural landscape. It has wonderful food. I will tell you that. A different demographic of people live in Jacksonville. All sorts of people, but the girls are, you know, the guys and the girls are at the beach bars and they're at the beach. That's just what they love to do. And, you know, Christmas in Jacksonville has no snow and...
Sounds like I'm going to Jacksonville.
But I didn't love Jacksonville. Jacksonville was kind of a, like...
Not like a right fit.
I'm not sure. I gotta be careful with my wordage here. But it was like... it was kind of trashy, man. You know, it wasn't like the greatest, but it wasn't the worst looking back. Jacksonville wasn't the worst. We're a few spots in Jacks, like St. John's. St. John's is a really, really nice area. St. Augustine, which is about 40 minutes south of Jacksonville, is also a really nice area. You go 2 hours south, you're in Orlando, which is a really, really nice area. I've been to Miami once, but I took a trip to the Keys. Went to Key West in like 2021, and that was, you know, they're all different locations just in itself, right? And then driving. I think the most important piece is driving. I drove from Jax to Denver to Seattle. So I drove 3,000 miles, and I've seen 3,000 miles of country. We went across the St. Louis Bridge. You know, we went through Savannah, Georgia. We went through the ATL, Atlanta, Georgia. We went through the entire state of Kansas, right? And you just see the world. I mean, you literally see the world change, you know, every mile that you drive. And then also the same goes from Denver to Seattle. You know, it changes. The mountains are there, but the landscape and the communities change. And it's very, very powerful to experience those places. Especially at only 25. It gives me an unfair advantage of having knowledge of how the real world is and why people are different in different ways.
And speaking more on unfair advantages, like what would you say that's like your most unfair advantage you have, or like speak a little bit more about that?
Okay. I think my number one unfair advantage is going through SEAL training. Even only being a few weeks into that, you know, I went through that training and then I went into boot camp. And I think having the exposure of what it takes to be part of the best class of soldiers in the world means does absolutely give me an unfair advantage, because I really understand what it means to put your life on the line for something and to act immediately upon it. And I think men in general today lack that. They don't have the love to die for something they believe in. And I think that's kind of hard because, you could consider it as dying for your country, or you can consider it as dying for something you believe in, whether that's through religion, whether that's for your family, whether that's through a hobby that you love. I don't really think a lot of guys really understand that. So going through that military training, firefighting training, technical training, leadership training, it definitely gives me an edge against other men in the world. Additionally, I have a little bit better of an understanding than most about basic communication skills and how to psychologically read people based on unvocal actions or body language, basically. And so I really have that skill to get people to emotionally let their guard down, have a conversation with me, build a relationship, make them feel like I'm trustworthy, both in a way that whether I'm looking to be sincere with someone or if I'm looking to negotiate for something, whether that I need or the team needs. All right, that's a skill I've been looking to improve on over the last 5 years.
And what's something you've struggled with in recent time?
I'm glad I have my notes here. I'm getting a little vulnerable here. I think something I've struggled with greatly within last year, between year 1 and 5, is maintaining relationships. And what specifically that means is like, when you move away from somewhere you lived, that's hard. And I had a tendency to, you meet someone, say your goodbyes, and then never speak to them or rarely speak to them again. And after you do that 6 to 8 times, it starts to weigh on you. Because you're like, I wish I was younger, I wish I'd stayed connected longer. Is there any value I can still bring from a friend who lives 500 to 1,000 miles away from me at this point? And so, I had a tendency, even here locally now, where I've had a tendency to lose kind of long relationships through non-communication over time, or not really going out of my way to wish someone a birthday, as I've been. One, I can make the excuse that I'm really busy, but I think over time I'm starting to come to the realization that I need to be more busy on my relationships because they're a higher priority now in my life. And so I've been struggling with that for the last year, but I'm really glad and thankful to have addressed that and looking for ways to improve that in the future. I think right now is the perfect time to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's hard when you're kind of, and even we're in a similar-ish, we're pretty close in age, and so we're both have a lot of business and kind of business accolades that we're trying to achieve, or we're just very busy, and so it's trying to balance achieving your goals in those realms, but also it's people are some of the most important assets in your life for your own health, for your business. People are one of the most important things. So I think, that's a huge thing to try to balance, and it can be hard too, because it's especially when you're getting overwhelmed, or it's easy to withdraw. So it's I think that's a cool thing that you're trying to be mindful of and work on a little bit. I think that's something we all should do.
Very good. And also, I think we get so caught up in these technical skills or whatever. It's just skill that'll take us to the next level, or it's this product that's going to take us to the next level. When it's really none of that. It's none of that. It really is. It's really about pressing flesh, which is meeting people, pressing to get yourself out, shaking hands. That's really where it's at. Because even if you're doing cold marketing of mass email, at some point you got to get on a conversation with someone. And so, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Number one, I hope to buy a farm. I want a farm, 5 to 6 beds, that my entire family lives on. I want one farm, one house. Love to house all the family. Getting back to the land, doing chores of the land, of the farm, to provide for myself and provide for others. As you know, men's testosterone are like 10 to 5%. They were 150 years ago. Let me say that again. Men's testosterone are at 5 to 10% of what they were 150 years ago. And it's because we've taken our life away from the land. The adaptation of getting back to the land is very high priority for me. And so I am looking to do that. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but it's definitely within the next 10 years. Okay, another couple more things I have on my 10 years. As I was talking about earlier, is location freedom. I want to spend 6 months in certain places of the year rather than being in one spot. And so that's kind of that's the thing about the farm, is I'm hoping it'll be a fixed place for everyone, but Dubai is going to be a location where I only spend temporarily. I would love to look at investing in Dubai. I've already looked at it, but it's a process, right? So, I'm a state resident. To get a certain visa or whatever, I have to invest in their country, or I got to bring some value. And the only really way to do that is to acquire some sort of company or real estate in Dubai, which I think is what we're strictly going to focus on, is real estate. And if we can get some real estate in Dubai, that would really be ideal. But I'm telling you right now that I don't think that needs to happen. But at some point, I think leaving the States is in my time frame. I do expect to be out of this location. We're in northern Seattle now. Skagit Valley, if you're familiar. I don't plan to be in Skagit Valley forever, so I do plan on leaving Skagit at some point. I do have some summer projects up here, which I think I am going to try to accommodate for next year as well. But I don't know how long that'll be. I like Denver. Going back to Denver, my hometown. I think I may invest there, but it's not on my top priority list. And so I don't think I'll be permanently there either. So I'm not sure exactly what that looks like yet. My next piece is, as you know, we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but we're starting a fund. I'm hoping the fund will purchase $100 million of real estate assets. I know that sounds crazy. I'm not actually putting $100 million, but to have $100 million of value in real estate is something I do look to pursue. But that may change, because I think people, what I'm really starting to learn, have extremely high expectations. Everyone wants to make 50 to 100 million, when you really could have a good life making only $30,000 living in a different country. Like, I think we have it so twisted. I'm gonna tag on this earlier or later. Like, our direction is so skewed because we're so, especially Americans, we're so destined on becoming a rich entrepreneur, being our own boss, and not listening to anybody. In the Bible it says, only the wise accept commands. Okay, life is not about being independent. It's actually the exact opposite. It takes a village, and it requires a team to build. When we talk about building this 100 million, I think it might be too much. I think even just this one transaction that we'll talk about here in a little bit may be too much. It's like the one deal is all I need, and it'll probably provide me a life forever. And I don't think people really overthink it, right? In terms of what success is, when it really could be, I only make $40,000, but I live in South America where I can pay a maid $300 a month, and a house rent that costs me $500 a month. And you can live an amazing life. Actually, if you look on social media, that type of lifestyle has more likes in general rather than a luxurious lifestyle. So it's a very interesting concept that I hope people, and I hope this country will break out of. I don't know what it is, but it's a personality of people that love to call it others broke. Like this word brokey, I guess, I think as a man, it's absolutely okay to be broke at some point. I think it's also okay to be broken at some point. I think I think some people have this wrong expectation of like only living to be rich, when it's like you can really be loved without having any money. You really can. You can really be loved by your friends and your peers having no money. But I think the way with the modern world is that money is life. So you really have a fine balance there. I think, what else do I have to say about that? Okay. Yeah, 100 million in real estate acquisition, mostly to prove that you can change a legacy. If you're looking to break out of some generational poverty, whether that's a mindset or that's a classification, I'm just trying to prove that you can break out of that, just having the right skills, and it's more about the right people rather than the right knowledge.
What are you hoping to achieve with this interview?
My number one objective of this interview today is to make a public announcement about my new place in the marketplace as a real estate investor. Okay, we're building a fund right now with team players, with the highest and best team players, to build a fund to build a vehicle that funds the purchase of real estate of more than 24 units. And with an emphasis of giving sellers a white glove service. Because as a seller, it's very difficult to leave or sell something so magnificent. It can be very, you can be really emotionally attached to the property. And so people, when they're selling, they look for a specific set of buyers. And as a buyer, we're looking to bring value of taking on their business non-confrontationally and giving them white glove service to be involved in the business post-closing. And so I'm making that announcement. That's really the objective of this interview today. And I'm really hoping that this defines like the new direction I'm taking in my life. I think it was really in marketing, but now it's really in investing in real estate specifically.
What is one thing that you think people are missing in their lives?
There's a lot of things people are missing. But a couple of them I want to hit on. Number one, deep breaths. As Gary Brecka said, disease is the lack of oxygen to the body. So basically, people are not taking the time in the morning to take deep breaths to get oxygen to their body. They're not doing any visualization or manifestation, as we call it, to see it in the mind prior to seeing it in real life. People are drinking coffee too early in the morning before the 90-minute mark of waking up. Has terrible, terrible effects on the body. Looking at their phone within an hour of waking up, any sort of dopamine that's within the body after waking up is immediately released when you look at the phone. And the first 15 minutes of you waking up are really, really, really crucial. So that's when I do my breathing exercises, I do my visualization, affirmations. I've been kind of bad about my affirmations, but people need to get their affirmations back in their life. Say it 3 times a day and not look at their phone within the first hour of waking up. Kind of those things combined, having the best morning routine and nightly routine, I think is something people are greatly missing in their lives today. Especially oxygen to the brain. And additionally, people are forgetting about what's called the 10 dark years. Bill Gates, when he was building Microsoft, for 10 years, locked himself in a room to build a business. And that kind of goes with all things. People forget that it's going to take 10 dark years to accomplish something that's really, really magnificent and great and successful. And people have the expectation that it can be done in 2 years, but I think people need to go in knowing that it's going to be 5 to 10 times harder than what you originally think it's going to be. And kind of going back on deep relationships, the best way to start rekindling some relationships are ones that you've had more than 10 years. Because you've gone through that 10 dark year history with someone, and it's a deep expectation that people need to have, whether they're looking to build something great or build new relationships. Next question.
What is an investor and what value do you bring as one?
Okay, so an investor is someone who creates capital or brings capital to something. Whether that's creating capital out of thin air or using other people's capital to utilize into something or to build upon something. Okay. So like I said, investor can use his own capital or he can use other people's capital through their own or others' assets. As an investor, the biggest asset I bring to the table is my military background. The exposure of working under strenuous events, and then additionally leading a team into war ready to die for them. Like that really means something, because in this transaction that's as big as this one, there's a lot of moving pieces, and there are major deadlines to reach, and you have to reach those. Doesn't matter, it just doesn't matter. You have to reach them, even if the odds are against your favor. Okay. Additionally, I bring world-class skills in communicating with individuals, being able to build relationships, giving them the ability to emotionally let their guard down, have a conversation with me, and building relationships to complete a certain objective. And that's going to be like overseeing the entire thing. Next, I bring skills in going back a little bit, establishing teams and board of directors that can handle operations, that can handle legal, that can handle accounting, that can handle operations, acquisitions, everything in between. I have the ability to build relationships and then have them complete a certain objective based on a vision. That's another great skill I have. Also relationships with banks, bankers, financing teams, which some of them some banks, most people have depository relationships with the bank where they just deposit money into the bank. But the banks are in the business of lending money. And so you can either have a relationship with the bank or the banker that provides funds for a specific investment, or you could work with non-traditional banks that don't necessarily require you to have the relationship with them, but usually you have higher fees, higher interest, more risk involved, and they're not going to be as favorable terms to the borrower. Then I bring value in being able to implement AI technology and operations into a business that immediately improve the effectiveness of the team. And that's going to be really unique about my position as an investor going in the next few years, especially with the evolution of AI and what it's specifically going to do to the industry. I think people look at AI as an opportunity and something that's supposed to change the world. And yes, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't think AI is going to be as revolutionary as people think. But they are already making claims in very high companies of taking over the workforce with AI. It's really something people need to pay attention to, but I don't think everyone's going to lose their job. I don't think they'll be able to build enough robots to fill unemployment. Because it's like 500,000 more jobs need to be filled more than unemployed people. I don't think people really understand that. Okay, next question. Thank you.
What are you trying to accomplish in the next 6 months?
Okay. As my favorite mob guy says, Michael Francis, he said, mob guys like to keep their goals at short range, meaning that kind of the philosophy behind that is, where's my next target and how can I take it out today? How can I take it out right now? Okay. So looking at the next 6 months, we're really we have our first transaction in Tennessee right now. We're really looking to put that to closing. And I expect it to take about 6 months. It's a $15 million raise. It's a $34 million purchase. And it's going to require me relocating to somewhere new and launching a new team and operations with people in Tennessee. That's a really big transition for me in the next 6 months. And additionally, I'm looking to fund a new foundation. A foundation is kind of like a nonprofit, but the foundation gives money to other nonprofits. I want it to center around Jesus or the service and service members. Maybe both, but I definitely aspire to launch a foundation within the next 6 months to give myself some more purpose. I don't know if it'll happen in the next 6 months, but I know for a fact it'll happen in the next 3 years. Lastly, I'm looking to retire my parents. In I don't. It may be. It's probably gonna be longer than 6 months, but we're definitely aiming for that 6-month mark.
So why do a deal in Tennessee?
Okay, so I knew already that Tennessee was a top place for people to move. I didn't realize that it's the fastest growing city in America. So just knowing that there's a demand of people there makes it a better spot to invest in real estate specifically. Kind of rewinding back, like as I began this journey, I had to find my criteria, which was like, what and why am I going to invest in something? And so that's kind of where I came up with real estate specifically. Additionally, I was looking at markets like Denver. I'm originally from the Denver area, so I kind of understand geographically how that place is. So it's like Denver, Colorado Springs, Aurora, Cherry Creek. I wouldn't invest here in Skagit, which is just the way it is. I would not invest in Skagit. And I was also looking at like St. Petersburg, Florida, or Orlando, Florida. I know that those places, I know Orlando a little bit geographically. I just know that there's a demand of people moving to Florida. It's like 900,000 people move to Florida a day. It's crazy. So that's kind of where I started. And then that specific spot in Clarksville, that deal in particular is, I remember like after we started our criteria and found our criteria, that deal in particular was found as a public on-market listing. And it was originally only 44 units, a much smaller sales price. And when I called the lady, Jennifer told me that they were looking to sell this one. The seller's looking to build more properties and let this one go. Then she told me about 2 others that were off market. And that was really what we were looking for, was off market transactions. To be able to give the seller an opportunity to sell it non-confrontationally and with white glove service. And so after we found that deal, we got the other 2. We looked at a purchase price for that deal in particular at $34 million. She wanted a little bit higher than that originally. We already got pre-approved for financing against that property by HUD, which getting pre-approved with HUD is like the FHA of small homes, and it gives us really favorable terms to the company and to the investors, especially in a market where interest is a little high, but it's actually still pretty good right now. Like we'll get in at about 6%. We're looking to fund that with $15 million in private equity funds. And we're going to be looking to fund our first batch through a $1 million line of credit through a local bank there in Clarksville to help us we have this famous, or I don't really have a name for it, but after we go under contract, we're looking to go famous in Clarksville through marketing and operations. So, we're looking at like $125K just in operational costs up to closing, just to close the deal. And so, as an investor, we're looking to bring those funds in. So every cent, it's kind of like creative financing. Every cent that we build will be used for that transaction. I don't use many of my assets, but I have used a little bit of my assets. Okay, and then I want to talk a little bit more about how I built this offer and how I got an accepted offer from the seller verbally. Okay, because this is really important about how I can show my value as an investor. Okay. Number one, as I talked about, our fund's really about giving sellers the opportunity to let their place go, non-confrontationally. The broker, her name's Jennifer. She's the property management. She owns the property management company that runs all those units. So we already have someone in place. I'm going to bring her on as our chief operating officer. Okay. She already runs all of it, operates at a 90% occupancy, and I really just don't think there'd be a better fit. Next is our non-executive chairman, who is the seller. And the reason I structured this specifically is because I was really looking for his mentorship post-closing. And this allows the seller to still be involved in the transaction without leaving it completely, but also without having any ties. This gives him the chance to be an advisor, but not directly involved in the business as he continues to grow and do more. Okay. Our legal team, Grant Teeple, he's the official legal team of Roland Frazier, more than $4 billion in acquisitions and exits, who will be supporting us directly in this transaction, who specializes in mergers and acquisitions, which is also really important. Our accounting team, we got Katie and Andrew, who work for Moss Adams, very large regional accounting firm, and they're actually merging with another really large accounting firm, which makes it an even bigger regional firm. And why that's so important is because, one, it gives us credibility on our board of advisors, and two, it presents some sort of accountability to the transaction. So it removes my risk, because anything that the accountant would make an error on, I may not be as liable to that unless I work with like a smaller accounting firm. I may be stuck with all the liability with a smaller firm. So that's huge. More than 40 years combined experience there. Our loan officer, Sal, he's already pre-approved this deal with HUD. HUD has great favorable terms, 40-year amortization, a lower percent, a lower what's called like a debt service cover ratio, which means per rent value, how much can you loan against that? It's more favorable with HUD. And then, obviously with all this combined, I have 125 years on the board. I got some of the best people in the industry getting ready to onboard to the board. And this really goes to emphasize who is really more important than the why or the how, okay? And then of course, being able to go in after closing, recreating our best month within 90 days, implementing a transition team / concierge team, removing credit lines, selling the vision, and building new and exciting relationships with everyone involved on that. And lastly, I was also really attracted to the architecture of these buildings. They're really uniquely designed, and in the future, he's building more developments that are really unique. For example, the walkable community. They're building the first walkable community. I think we'll start to see a lot more walkable communities being built in the near future, and I think he's really taking the industry by storm by doing this. And so, being involved with those kind of players really allows me to take a quantum leap. And so that's really that deal in Tennessee that I'm really excited about. I'm literally relocating to Nashville to be a part of that transaction. And I'll keep you guys updated on how that rolls. And then, of course, we'll be looking to grow, with Jennifer and with Mr. Krugenberg as they grow as well.
Do you have any mentors?
Yeah, I got a lot of mentors. Number one, Roland Frazier. I got coached by him directly there for a few months. $4 billion in acquisitions and exits of a business. Understanding what it means to be an investor, how to buy a business, how to get the best deal, how to understand EBITDA, how to go in post-closing, what do investors find valuable, how do you actually execute on that. All that stuff was really valuable. I was coached directly from him. Now I'm directly coached by Ty Lopez, more than $500 million in his marketing company, building a huge personal brand. More than, he really specializes in the transition of marketing online, building a personal brand, what it's gonna take, how it gets harder. Now he's really in the AI social media space and how that's gonna work. But I'm still mentored by him directly. I get on a call with him Monday through Saturday to be coached by him directly and how to implement some of his operations. I've been coached by Amir Syed, $2 billion in real estate loans. I was coached directly from him for 6 months. all these guys have brought so much value. I think the misconception is people don't like other people buying courses, but they'll pay to go to college and pay for those courses. But some of these courses that, we're seeing a huge rise in info products, which is like coaching or consulting. I think the places, the industry is getting a little saturated, but I think we'll actually see it continue to increase in demand. And then, of course, my QLA mentor, Dan Pena, all of his advice was free. He's strictly virtual. I've actually never met him in person, but I've listened to all his words. It's about how to create super success by removing all the fears of oneself. And so those are definitely my direct mentors. Excuse me.
What is a misconception or some hidden truths about working in real estate?
Okay, number one, a single family home is not an asset. Every single real estate agent will sell you that. An asset versus liability. Your single family home primary residence is a liability, and your second home is technically a liability too if you don't have anybody living in the property. An asset puts money in your pocket, a liability takes money out of your pocket. And a single family home only takes money out of your pocket. You're then liable to all the damages to the property without any subsidizing income. And between that and people, there's tons of information about how much equity is in homes right now across the US. But it doesn't do anybody any good, because when the bank looks at taking a loan against the equity, you still have to have the ability to repay a loan. So your home was 200 grand, you bought it for 200 grand, now it's worth 400 grand, but you can't get a loan for more than 200 grand because your income has not increased. And so it's a total fallacious concept. You need to take the equity and put it into something that cash flows. And really 20% of the business, of the industry, specifically the real estate industry, does 80% of the business. 80% of them do one transaction a year, don't really understand the mentoring of why someone should purchase real estate or the consulting of purchasing real estate. Like I said, a single family home is not an asset. Your primary residence is not an asset, it's a liability. Yet everyone tells you that you need to build wealth through purchasing your first property. I'm doing it very differently. I'm purchasing properties, many properties with a full team without using any of my own assets. And that's the most important piece right there. That's a huge misconception about the industry. And then lastly, I think agents now are definitely going to deal with the competitive nature of AI and how it can increase productivity and write offers for people. As the real estate agent, it's really challenged within the last few years, especially going under that lawsuit with the National Association of Realtors, which is a total racket. I'm saying it right here. The National Association of Realtors is a racket. And I was actually involved in it a little bit. I don't know how you guys are going to react to that. I've never told anybody that to their face. But I think the Association of Realtors is a racket. It should not be involved. They do things very inefficiently. It does not support the realtors. And like I said, 20% of the business does 80% of the business. And so that's just the reality of it. That's the misconceptions. Lastly, is not recommending any of your friends or family to invest with you, especially when it comes to real estate. Only finding very professional individuals who specifically are only looking to invest in real estate, whether that's through lead gen or like other people that you know already. So there's that.
All right. What is something you know that would shock people?
When Obamacare was launched, the Russian mafia stole $600 million out of Obamacare. Okay, it's kind of like the PPP thing. Huge scams, people stealing the money. Remember, Obamacare was built to help poverty-stricken people with affordable health care. How are you supposed to launch a program like that when you get $600 million fraudulently stolen from you? That shocked me, and it should shock you, because that's the reality of the world. Okay? Machiavelli used gambling against their enemies in war. After listening to I'll Make You an Offer You Can't Refuse, it really skewed my identity of how I look at gambling. Not necessarily just the casino, but like sports gambling, any sort of gambling in general. How normal people turn into criminals based on their gambling addiction. And like I said, they use it against their enemies in war to distract them from what's really important. And I think it's only going to keep people more shrunk and more in poverty doing gambling like that. Because realistically, like, not everyone in the casino, like, not everyone should be just gambling in general, right? Like, I don't even love to gamble like that. I can't remember the last time I gambled. I think it was with my mom, but anyway. Additionally, last thing is, I remember listening to, in Vietnam, if your leader did not have a supreme sense of awareness, then it could cost you your life. And here's what I mean. In war, in battle, if you're a general in the war who makes the wrong decision, there are numerous accounts of people throwing frag bombs into their own tents or shooting their own leaders in the head. Because how it works in real life is, if you're getting ready to charge and attack an enemy, and you're the only one that runs out, exposing them to being killed, they're gonna kill you. And so there are numerous accounts of people blowing up their own leaders, killing their own leaders of their own country, to prevent either some sort of ambush or prevent their own lives from being taken. And that was another huge shocker. There are thousands of reports, and it was very shocking, and it should shock you too. Those are some things. I wish I could literally go on forever about that, but I'm not going to today.
Okay. All right. If you could make the world a better place, how would you do that?
Wow. Number one, I'd remove all forms of gambling. I know that's crazy, but I said what I said. I would remove all forms of gambling. I'd take kids out of public school. There are way too many similarities between prison and the public school system. We basically send our kids to prison. Okay. Anyone who went to public school basically went to prison for 18 years. And we wonder why our kids are so distant with us, why they have no respect for their parents, why they are so brainwashed in school, why they are bullied, why they have no chance to defend themselves, and they're literally locked inside of a brick building. And so I would change the way the public school system is looked upon. I would change it drastically, and I think it would greatly improve the lives of families in the household, which then I think would improve the quality of life in America. Because remember, not always did women and men work. It used to be just one man worked. And, in an argument against the others, putting women to work isn't equality, because now they're just sending both parents for the kids to be left with the government. I believe in that. I feel very strongly about that. Some people are definitely going to disagree with me on that, and that's totally okay. I want you to disagree with me. Let me know what you think in the comments. But, I'm very sad that we sent all of our women to work, and they work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks out of the year, and call 10 days of vacation time good benefits. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy to me that we think we live in a free world. The last thing would be decentralizing government, giving them as little impact as possible. We're taxed at 55% of our total income that we died for at one point. We died when they had a 2% tax. Now we have 55. We're not going to do anything about it. You're definitely not going to do anything about it. And they're the biggest crooks. They steal from us at every angle. And so I decentralize government as much as possible, giving more power to elected officials. But I don't even think that's necessarily the answer yet. But I would decentralize government.
All right, the last question. What are most people not ready to hear?
Most people do not have any communication skills whatsoever. It's so bad, most people cannot stay quiet for more than 14 seconds. It takes an introvert about 8 seconds to be able to speak. It can take them between 8 to 60 seconds to be able to speak. So if you're dealing with an introvert and can't keep quiet, they'll never get their idea out, which causes them to close and shut down. Maybe why you're losing a relationship with someone, because you just want to talk. Listen. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. Additionally, going back to our word brokey, I think way too many people in the world now are using the word brokey or making fun of the broke idea. I think it's very okay for people to be broke. I think it's okay for young men to be broke. I think it's okay for young men to be broken. I don't think they should be, they're just crazy judged on making a six-figure check to earn the respect of their peers and the women of today. Remember, Jesus will still love you if you're broke. It's actually the parable of the widow. She gave 2 cents, which was all her money, and the rich guys only gave 1/10 of their money, even though the rich gave more. So it's a very interesting concept. I think it's out of line. It's completely out of the perspective of reality. I think it's an Americanized idea that we lust over the thought of money. And I think with the availability of the internet, that it's only gonna get worse over time with our entire population, because it's like 90,000 people get internet every single day. So you're now competing at a worldwide scale rather than just a local geographic scale. And as Dan Pena said, sleep with the dogs, wake up with fleas, baby. But I think that was our last question.
Yeah, that was the last.
So I just wanted to, if you watch this till the end, I want to say thank you. I chose to do this interview today to kind of expose and let the world know about what we got going on today. Andrew, thanks so much for being on here today to ask me these questions. I'm really excited to let this go. You guys are going to start seeing some stuff about it, but this will probably be after the fact that you see this podcast. Don't forget to like it somehow, and I will see you all later.